Bhagavate Vasudevaya. We are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, first canto, chapter 5, which is entitled Narada's Instructions on Srimad Bhagavatam, text number 32. Etat samsuchitam brahman tapatraya chikitshitam yat isvare bhagavati karma brahmani bhavitam etat sumchitam brahmams tapatraya chikitsitam yat isvare bhagavati karma brahmani bhavitam etat, this much, samsuchitam, decided by the learned, Brahman, O Brahmana, Vyas, Tapatraya, three kinds of miseries. Chikitsitam, remedial measures. Yat, what? Isvare, the supreme controller. Bhagavati, unto the personality of Godhead. Karma, one's prescribed activities. Brahmani, unto the great. Bhavitam, dedicated. And also the word bhavitam, dedication, dedicated, was made as the topic of this class. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. O Brahmana Vyasadev, it is decided by the learned that the best remedial measure for removing all troubles and miseries is to dedicate one's activities to the service of the Supreme Lord, Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna. Please repeat. O Brahmana Vyasadev, it is decided by the learned that the best remedial measure for removing all troubles and miseries is to dedicate one's activities to the Supreme Lord, the Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna. Purport. Sri Narada Muni personally experienced that the most feasible and practical way to open the path of salvation or get relief from all miseries of life is to hear submissively the transcendental activities of the Lord from the right and bona fide sources. This is the only remedial process. The entire material existence is full of miseries. Foolish people have manufactured out of their tiny brains many remedial measures for removing the threefold miseries pertaining to the body and mind, pertaining to the natural disturbances and in relation with other living beings. The whole world is struggling very hard to exist out of these miseries. But man do not know that without the sanction of the Lord, no plan or no remedial measure can actually bring about the desired peace and tranquility. The remedial measure to cure a patient by medical treatment is useless if it is not sanctioned by the Lord. To cross the river or the ocean by suitable boat is no remedial measure if it is not sanctioned by the Lord. We should know for certain that the Lord is the ultimate sanctioning officer, and we must therefore dedicate our attempts to the mercy of the Lord for ultimate success, or to get rid of the obstacles on the path of success. The Lord is all-pervading, all-powerful, omniscient, and omnipresent. He is the ultimate sanctioning agent of all good or bad effects. We should therefore learn to dedicate our activities unto the mercy of the Lord and accept Him either as impersonal Brahman, localized Paramatma, or the Supreme Personality of Godhead. It does not matter what one is. One must dedicate everything in the service of the Lord. If one is a learned scholar, scientist, philosopher, poet, etc., then he should employ his learning to establish the supremacy of the Lord. Try to study the energy of the Lord in every sphere of life. Do not decry Him and try to become like Him or take His position simply by a fragmental accumulation of knowledge. If one is an administrator, a statesman, a warrior, politician, etc., then one should try to establish the Lord's supremacy in statesmanship. Fight for the cause of the Lord, as Sri Arjuna did. In the beginning, Sri Arjuna, the great fighter, declined to fight. But when he was convinced by the Lord that the fighting was necessary, Sri Arjuna changed his decision and fought for his cause. His cause meaning the cause of the Lord. Similarly, if one is a businessman, an industrialist, an agriculturist, etc., then one should spend his hard-earned money for the cause of the Lord. Think always that the money which is accumulated is the wealth of the Lord. Wealth is considered to be the goddess of fortune, Lakshmi, and the Lord is Narayan, or the husband of Lakshmi. Try to engage Lakshmi in the service of Lord Narayan and be happy. That is the way to realize the Lord in every sphere of life. The best thing is, after all, to get relief from all material activities and engage oneself completely in hearing the transcendental pastimes of the Lord. But in case of the absence of such an opportunity, one should try to engage in the service of the Lord everything for which one has specific attraction. And that is the way of peace and prosperity. The word samsuchitam in this stanza is also significant. One should not think for a moment that the realization of Narada was childish imagination only. It is not like that. It is so realized by the expert and erudite scholars, and that is the real import of the word samsuchitam. So this verse of today is actually related to, it starts in the previous chapter, where Srila Vyasadeva, he was concerned for the welfare of the people in Kali Yuga, because he saw the difficulties the people had, and people were suffering. People were, due to their conditioning, they were having difficulties to deal with this material world. And he was thinking of a way to help them to purify their activities. And therefore, as a result of his reflection and meditation, he decided to divide the Vedas into four. Before was the Yajur Veda, and now he divided them in four, into the Rig Veda, Yajur Veda, Sama Veda, and Atharva Veda. And then the fifth Vedas was more about the history, the Mahabharata, the Puranas, and the Samhitas. So by doing that, he tried to help them and how to relieve themselves from their suffering. But at the same time, after having done that, and having put different personalities in place of the different Vedas, then he had further reflection that he did not achieve what he wanted to achieve. He wanted to achieve that the people would become happy. And by dividing in the four Vedas and by instructing them as such, he did not achieve that the people became happy. And he was wondering what is wrong. And he was contemplating how to improve that particular situation. So basically he was not satisfied at heart with what he had done so far. And then upon reflecting, he also understood that he should bring in another aspect of devotional service in order to satisfy the people at heart. And he had some or other left out a more personal aspect, the more personal service to the Lord. So when he was reflecting like that, at that time, Narada Muni came to visit him, because Narada Muni was his spiritual master. On one hand, it is also understood that Srila Vyasadeva is an incarnation of the Lord. So as such, as an incarnation of the Lord, he was fully knowledgeable, and he did not need a spiritual master. But just like Lord Caitanya Mahaprabhu appeared in this world and also took shelter of a spiritual master. And so in the same way, just as Lord Krishna himself, when he appeared 5,000 years ago, he went to the Gurukul. He took shelter of a spiritual master. So in the same way, also Srila Vyasadeva, he had Narada Muni as his spiritual master. And Narada Muni, he appeared exactly at the time when he was reflecting, how can I really help these people in Kali Yuga? How can I help them getting out of these miseries? Because there are the different kleshas, and different kleshas, different sufferings, where we have sufferings from our own self. We struggle with our own mind in the first place. As Srila Bhaktisiddhanta said, we should every morning and evening we should beat our mind with a broomstick, because our mind comes up with all kinds of crazy ideas, crazy proposals. And it would be crazy to act on many ideas which are proposed by our mind in Kali Yuga. So besides that, we also have Adhibautika, where we have difficulties with our surrounding. We have difficulties sometimes with our neighbors. We have difficulties sometimes with some political party, or even with some other religion. Or even before we take birth, we have difficulties with the different entities who are within the water surrounding ourselves in the womb, and they are biting our skin, and we are in a very precarious situation where we cannot do anything. So all these sufferings, in this way, they are there. And so these different kleshas, they are disturbing us all the time. They are affecting us all the time. And how can we become free of it? So when Narada Muni came, then he did discuss with Srila Vyasadeva that the work he had done was not complete. He made some statements in that regard. He was saying that those words which do not describe the glories of the Lord, who alone can sanctify the atmosphere of the whole universe, are considered by saintly persons to be like unto a place of pilgrimage for crows. And Narada Muni was saying that on the other hand, the literature, which is full of descriptions of the transcendental glories of the name, fame, form, and pastimes of the unlimited Supreme Lord, is a different creation, full of transcendental words. And they bring about a revolution to the impious lives of the world's misdirected civilization. And he was saying that such transcendental literature, even though imperfectly composed, they are heard, sung, and accepted by purified men who are thoroughly honest. So Narada Muni was pointing out the importance of giving the people the opportunity to engage in devotional service and to also understand the Lord's descriptions and pastimes, the pastimes of the Lord, because they have a very a great effect on us. When we study the pastimes of the Lord, when we study, when we perform devotional service and directly render devotional service to the Lord, then that has a very purifying effect. And the heart gets appeased because we are doing basically we are doing the right thing. And Narada Muni then, he started to explain what happened. He started to explain to Srila Vyasadeva what happened to himself. How he, during the 4 months of Chaturmasya, served the brahmanas, simply served them, giving them prasadam, cleaning, making arrangements, helping to cook his mother, helping his mother to cook, etc. So then, during these 4 months, Narada Muni, he was in constant association with the Bhaktivedantas, those devotees who took shelter of one place, and during these 4 months, and then were performing their devotional activities. And just by being in their association for these 4 months, then that changed his life. He said, I took one time the remnants of the Bhaktivedantas with their permission. I took one time the remnants of their prasadam, and that had such a tremendous effect on me. And him being there all the time, doing menial services, where they were doing all their devotional service activities and chanting the glories of the Lord, that had such a purifying effect. So he was explaining this point to Srila Vyasadeva for our own benefit. So then we come gradually to this verse where it is said that it is decided by the learned that the best remedial measure for removing all troubles and miseries is to dedicate one's activities to the service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And we can see here that Srila Prabhupada in the purport, he elaborates very much on this. And he explains that everything is happening with the sanction of the Lord. And this is not, it's easy to say it, It's easy to say everything is happening, everything is the Lord's mercy, everything is the sanction of the Lord. But to actually realize that is a great challenge. Because if we look in our daily life, we see how many arrangements we try to make to fulfill whatever we need. We try to make so many arrangements, but while trying to make these arrangements, we are not always conscious that whatever happens to us, whatever we do, whatever we obtain is sanctioned by the Lord, is His mercy, is under his control and will only happen if he sanctions it. And if it doesn't sanction it, whatever effort we do, it will not happen. Or it will not happen to the extent that we want it to happen. Because it will not happen, it will only happen when he sanctions it. And Srila Prabhupada is explaining here that he is encouraging that basically those who have certain qualifications, let them use these qualifications in the service of the Lord. Whatever qualification we have, let us, as an encouragement, let us do that to serve the Lord with that particular field of knowledge or with that particular way. As he is speaking here, if you are an officer in the government, so then use that position to establish the position of the Lord. If you are a scholar, then use your propensity as a scholar, use it to write and glorify the Lord in all your activities, in all your essays, in all your works that you are doing. Make Him the center of your meditation, and make sure that as a result of your work, that the Lord comes out as the supreme. And then Srila Prabhupada refers to Arjuna, who at first didn't want to fight because he couldn't understand the situation. He couldn't understand why he would have to kill his own family members, his own teachers, for whom he had so much respect. So the Lord Krishna had to explain to him that why he should fight. And it took him some time through the Bhagavad Gita to explain to him, to come to the point as to why he should do what he's meant to do, fight. And he also made him understand that if he is not going to play that role, it will happen anyway. So it's not that when we are not, doing our duty, it's not that then the Lord is suffering or something. No, the Lord is giving us an opportunity to do service, and it's up to us to take this opportunity or not. So in the same situation with Arjuna, once Arjuna, all his doubts were cleared by the answers given by the Lord, then he was able to put his energy forward in a very strong way, in a dedicated way. As the topic of the class is dedication, he became very dedicated he surrendered to the Lord, he gave his heart to the Lord, and he was able and willing with full dedication to serve the Lord. Sometimes when we visit temples, we see a devotee is cleaning the temple room with his bead bag in his one hand, and with his left hand he is moving the broom to do some cleaning. That is not the example of dedication. Dedication is when one wholeheartedly, when one with his full energy and fully convinced is doing things. So Arjuna, when he was convinced, then he took up that service of serving Lord Krishna with full dedication and determination. And he was fighting like a lion. He was doing it on behalf of the Lord. And he was fully convinced doing that. So that is what the Lord wants. The Lord wants us to come to the point that we can fight for the cause of the Lord. And that we can give all our energy in what we are good at. That we can give that energy to do in His service. So in this purport, Srila Prabhupada is stimulating everyone. He's stimulating the businessman. He's stimulating the industrialist. He's stimulating the agriculturist. That whatever they are doing, that they do it, that they grow vegetables for the Lord and His devotees. When we are speaking about a farm, or others, businessmen, that Srila Prabhupada points out that the businessman should understand that the Lakshmi is considered the goddess of fortune. Whatever one earns, we should understand that this is by Krishna's arrangement. Krishna is allowing me to do this. And whatever I earn, I should use it in His service to spread Krishna consciousness, to spread the glories of the holy name, to print books, to do whatever is necessary so that the ultimate mission is fulfilled. Because there is no way that we can be happy in this material world. As Srila Prabhupada, he states, foolish people have manufactured, he says, out of their tiny brains, many remedial measures for removing the threefold miseries pertaining to the body and mind, pertaining to the natural disturbances, and in relation with other living beings. The people in the material world, yes, they are using that energy, that dedication, what they have within themselves, but they are using it to try to avoid these miseries. And whenever they always make something new and something better, and it's always going to be, but there is always another side. Whatever the materialists create to avoid problems, there is always another problem that pops up. Because this world is not created for dedicating only ourselves to solutions to be happy in this material world. It's not meant for that. And as long as we don't accept that it is not meant for that, then we may try to also put energy in trying to find solutions for all the difficulties in this world. But it's going to give no results, because simply the Lord has not meant it to be for that purpose. This material world is not meant for that. And the more things we find and the more things we make, the more complications there will be. The more cars there are, the more pollution there will be, and it will have an effect. And then they have big gatherings G20 or G whatever, where they try to solve the pollution of the world. But it's not going to be the ultimate solution. It's not even going to work as a temporary solution. Because this world is not meant for that. This world is meant to live simple and to have high thinking. Just like here in Eco Village, devotees are trying to live simple, but with dedication to the Lord, with devotional service as the central part of our life, and not with the meditation to try to solve the dualities or the problems or the kleshas of this world. That is not a solution. And as long as we put energy in that, then that's misplaced dedication. And proper dedication is when the energy is directed towards the devotional service, towards our devotional practices. Now we see in relation to dedication, we see that in this case, particular story, Narada Muni, he dedicated 4 months in the association of the devotees, and we see the result of this. We also see that our Srila Prabhupada, that he met Srila Bhaktisiddhanta in 1922. At that time, he was 26 years old, and I think he had 1 child, or maybe his 2nd child was there. In any case, he was very young. And from 1922 to 1965, that's 43 years. And that Srila Prabhupada prepared himself to do the mission which was requested to him by Srila Bhaktisiddhanta in 1922. And then it was repeated somewhat later. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta later asked him again. But he never forgot that mission. And he dedicated his life, he molded his life towards that mission. And whatever he did within that time, between 1922 and 1965, was taking in consideration the request of his spiritual master. And especially after he took sannyas at the age of 59, then after he took sannyas, especially after that, he fully dedicated his time to the preparation of such a great mission. And we see the result of such dedication, such meditation, and such determination to fulfill and to play a role in the mission of his spiritual master. So that is the greatness of Srila Prabhupada, that he took to heart the instruction of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta, of his spiritual master. And he was a successful businessman, and he could have been a very big businessman ultimately. But he understood. He understood the mission, and he understood that the solution was not to become a big industrialist ultimately. And Krishna also didn't allow him. He took away his success. And in this way, Srila Prabhupada dedicated his life to the mission of his Guru Maharaj. We also see in the life of Dhruva Maharaj, he also, although he was upset, he was angry, and a lot of his drive to go to the forest was because he was upset with his stepmother and to some extent with his father. And then he asked his mother, what should I do? And she said, the only person that can help you is Lord Vishnu. He is the only person that can give you what you want. I cannot do anything, she said, because I'm not the preferred wife, or I'm the second wife, so to say, by your father. So I cannot do anything. And then he asked, where is he living? And then she told him that, he would be able to find the Lord. Some sages, they withdraw themselves and take shelter in the forest to do their seva and meditation to the Lord. So with determination to ultimately get a bigger kingdom as his father, he went to the forest. And then after meeting Narada Muni, then the more devotional aspect came in. And then he became dedicated to the mission of the Lord. And he actually gave up his determination to get a greater kingdom. So dedication and the cultivation of dedication is very, very important, so that we can take to the real value in life, which is pure devotion service for the Lord. If we can mold our life to the dedication of devotion service to the Lord, then that will be the greatest success and also the greatest pleasure for Srila Prabhupada if he sees that his devotees, disciples and grand disciples, and further on take up the mission of Krishna consciousness with dedication. So I will stop here. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.